Good afternoon, guys. I think we got something going on here, very funny. I think we got upstairs drilling and other noises around. But good afternoon and welcome. And Beth Penfold, hello.
Hello there. Can I just start by apologising to you and to anyone who tuned in last week expecting to see me? I've just had a really bad back situation going on for about 3 weeks now. And it got so bad that it was all down my neck and my shoulder and everything. I was in quite a lot of pain. And at the end of last week, I just had to start taking diazepam. So it's helped a lot, but I've been off my rocker like some sort of drunk for days. So I'm still taking it at low levels, but hopefully I'm compos mentis and I shall be able to add value during the show. But yeah, I'm really sorry I wasn't there last week.
It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. You can't help it if you're bad. It doesn't. It doesn't affect anything.
Okay,
Okay, I'm a forgiving person. Just,
thank you.
just, yeah. It doesn't matter. Self sabotage, guys. Don't forget, guys. If you've got anything to say, please let me know. And also, if you've got any messages, please leave them on the right hand column on the radio, not the left. Okay, so Beth,
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I think it's something that all of us do at least some of. It's a big thing that we do, and there are very good reasons why we do it. You know, in terms of the way our brains work. But essentially, it's kind of like it's any thought or feeling that works against what you're actually consciously trying to achieve in life, or it's like some kind of it's some sort of very good, Mark. It's some sort of conflict that you have with another part of yourself. Yeah. So that's essentially what it is. And it's important because it holds us back in life. You know, as you know, I'm the change coach. And for people who are trying to make a change, it's the sort of thing that gets them stuck in a rut. They try and try and try to make a change, and they're consciously doing everything they think they can think of. They're really using their willpower, and they're doing their very, very best, but somehow they can't see, you know, something sort of pings them back to the start line and they have to start all over again. So I think it's really important to just help people maybe gain some awareness of how self-sabotage might be showing up in their lives, because there is stuff you can do about it. And in fact, I've got quite a well-reviewed free little course I can email out to any of your listeners today that might be interested in taking some action on this if it resonates with them.
send it to me.
I will. So, yeah, essentially, you know, sabotage can show up in a couple of ways, really. There's sort of the obvious stuff like somehow getting legless at the pub when you know that you've got an important presentation at work the next day. There's that kind of, oh, why did I do that? And kind
Good
of,
idea, oh.
sorry?
It's a good idea.
And kind of like being on a diet, but then somehow working your way through a whole pack of hobnobs on the sofa, you know, instead of dieting, etc. Signing up for the gym and then never going. Like, I've definitely done that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that.
But then there's another type of self sabotage, which is more subtle and in a way, you know, more negative, can be potentially more damaging, and there's kind of often more of this going on in your life than you think. So procrastination is a real biggie. Procrastination is a form of self sabotage because you're literally stopping yourself from moving forward. So if you're like disorganized, if you're kind of always running a few minutes late for things, if you're dithering over a decision, if you find that you get into overwhelm or you overthink stuff, these are all ways in which you're sabotaging yourself, because they're all ways that stop you from turning up on time. You know, that might ruin a relationship or make you look unprofessional in a job. Um, getting into overwhelm, you know, there's something that needs doing, but you end up not doing it to the last minute and then you don't do a very good job of it, or making excuses or telling lies to people because you just can't quite face it and you don't know how to explain that to people. So all that sort of thing. Another thing, another form of self-sabotage which you might not automatically think of is the inability to trust others, or conversely, the inability to keep secrets. So the inability to be trustworthy. So much in life depends on having good, healthy relationships with other human beings, to get us through life, to help us enjoy life, to help us succeed in life. And if you are someone who gossips, for instance, or that you can't allow yourself to reach out for help to someone because you don't trust people, you're not able to trust people. In both ways you're holding yourself back, because if you're not trustworthy, then you're not going to do well in your job. You might not have the best friendships, and if you're not able to trust people, then you're not able to access the help that you are entitled to. Most people in life who love you, who are choosing to be in your life, they want to help if you need it. But so many of us, I know I've found this in the past, I find it hard to reach out and say, I'm struggling here, I need some help. So that's another way that self-sabotage can be really sort of harmful. Compare and despair, that gets talked about a lot now. So comparing yourself negatively to others, is a way of, destroying your confidence in yourself, your self-esteem. So that obviously, if you then don't believe you deserve something, if you don't believe you're able to move forward, then you just don't move forward. So that's a form of self-sabotage. Um, and just like unhelpful beliefs about ourselves, like we have so many limiting beliefs that we just pick up through life, through school, through culture, religion, through social media, through advertising, all sorts of things. People sort of think things like, I'm not a gym person, and if you believe that, then even if you do go to the gym, you're not going to be able to stick at it because you've got that self-sabotaging thought. I'm not a gym person. I'm not management material, or there's always something that I mess up on. So these kind of limiting critical thoughts are literally, shooting you in the foot really before you start. And I think what's important to clarify is that people often mistake self-sabotaging behaviors for a character trait. So people might say, oh, I'm just so indecisive. Oh, I can just never make up my mind, right? So that's not who you are. That's a behavior that you're running that you can choose to change once you realize that it's not you. Yeah. Um, I'm shy in social situations. I'm just no good at meetings and speaking up and things like that. Again, that's not who you are. That's a behavior you're running. That's a belief you've got, which is stopping you from coming forward and making new friends. It's stopping you from making a fantastic point in a meeting and getting your voice heard. So again, these aren't part of you. They're not who you are. They're just behaviors, and all behaviors can be changed. So that's just an important sort of distinction to make, really, I think, for people. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, how many of these things ring true for you, Steve. Do you feel there's anything you do that sort of where you sabotage yourself?
Well, I keep on putting myself down.
Yeah.
I was doing my notes earlier. I have trouble starting. Oh, hang on for a second. Where's it T? Um, Picking fights with friends or partners. I don't fight all the time.
No, of course not. But we all do sometimes, don't we?
Choosing to walk away when things don't go smoothly.
That's a very good one, isn't it? Because sometimes the walking away can seem like the calm and sensible thing to do, but also it shuts down any possibility for you to resolve a situation in a way that's going to be beneficial to you. You're out of the game then. You've taken yourself out of the game. So, yeah, that's really interesting because it doesn't seem like self-sabotage on the surface, but actually, yes, it is.
And also, I blame other people when things go wrong.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's great that you've identified that as a form of self-sabotage, because I think we all do that. I certainly used to do that when I had anxiety and depression, because I already hated myself so much that I
Mm,
couldn't bear another thing that I did wrong. I couldn't bear dealing with, some other mess up that I had made, and I had no idea how to put that right. And in my family, particularly, the culture was that you never ever admitted blame for something, even if it was blatantly you. Because when you admitted blame for something, instead of people sort of calming down and going, right, well, good, I'm glad you've admitted that. Now, go and sit on the naughty step or whatever it is for a bit. But fair enough, we'll move on. What would happen is that you'd get attacked even more. It felt like permission for people to really lay into you that you'd admitted you'd done this thing. And so, well, I grew up thinking that, admitting blame for myself would just bring on more attack, and yeah, but you're right. You're so right that it's a form of self-sabotage, because blame's not a very helpful word. If you swap that word for responsibility, if you accept responsibility for your part in what's happened, then actually it's kind of empowering, because you go, okay, so I see what I did there, and if you can be compassionate to yourself, you can actually learn something from the experience. And then whatever experience we have in life, however awful it might be, however we might have hurt somebody, if we
mm.
learn a lesson from it, then it's not all bad. It's not wasted.
I think the biggest, sorry, Beth, I think the biggest thing for me was a while back is when I used to, self sabotage kind of um, my dating. When I used to date quite a bit,
Yeah.
I used to say, oh well, she doesn't like me and things like that. Why am I going to turn up for? Why am I making all this effort? And all of a sudden I turn up and everything goes okay, and then I'm thinking, or should I do it again? And we get all this into our head, and it's because, for me, it's because I've been hurt in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's an excellent point. And of course, that's the reason why we self sabotage, because, I've spoken about this before, but our unconscious mind, it means well. It's always trying to protect us and keep us safe. And self sabotage comes from the unconscious mind trying to do its best to stop us from walking into a situation where we've suffered before. So that's a fantastic example. And this is why it's difficult to combat self-sabotage, because, it's kind of coming from a good place. It's just the wrong thing. So
Mm.
the way to tackle self-sabotage is not to be more aggressive to yourself, but to actually, notice that negative voice inside that's saying, oh, she's not going to like you, oh, there's no point, etc. And actually start to just question that voice. Where are you getting that information from? How is this helping you? I mean, I say to people, imagine if you had an actual friend who would say that kind of crap to you on a daily basis. So you ring them up and go, I've got this date with this woman that I've liked her for ages, and we're going out to the pub, and your friend goes, oh, I don't know why you're even bothering, mate. It's not going to work, is it? It's not going to work. Why would she like you? How long would you actually stay friends with that person? It would be easy, wouldn't it, to see that that person was toxic and didn't deserve to be your friend. But when our own inner voice is saying it, somehow we kind of feel like it's got some kind of authority, that it's speaking from some sort of factual standpoint, and we kind of just accept what it's saying without questioning it. So learning to question that voice, just get curious about it, is a really powerful way to start chipping away at that negative self-sabotaging voice.
I think it's also the patterns that we've learned in childhood is where, things that happen to us in childhood, like early relationships, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
the trouble is, throughout life, it's like kind of trying to move on, but the trouble is sometimes it can be difficult because what's happened in the past.
yeah, absolutely. It can be really difficult. And, obviously, it's worth getting support and therapy to properly explore that. and to find a way to move on, because what's often involved there is opening up the problem in a safe space, feeling all and any painful emotions that might be left around what happened, and then learning from it, making sense of it somehow, and go, yeah, that was awful, but it's in the past. I'm now going to protect myself from that happening again by whatever. Like, I had massive trust issues because of, sexual abuse as a child, and then being in a domestic abuse relationship, massive, massive trust issues with men particularly. And the way I've got around it is by saying that actually, in a way, and this is meant as a positive message, just hear me out, people. You can't really trust anybody, because when you're trusting somebody, what you're expecting them to do is exactly what you want them to do, right? So it's kind of like, I trust my friend to, turn up on at 6 o'clock because that's what we've agreed, right? Now they may do that. They'll probably try to do that, but they won't necessarily be able to do that for whatever reason, because you don't control them. They're their own individual human being. And there are people, for instance, who have trust issues with, say, infidelity, and people have, cheated on them in the past. I know that's part of your experience, and you think, how can I trust this new person? The thing is that you can't really, because they've got their own code of ethics. They've got their own beliefs about what is and isn't appropriate behavior. And there are some people who cheat and have no idea really how devastating it is for the person they've cheated on. They're like, it was just one night. Oh, it didn't mean anything, etc., etc. Because in their model of the world, their handbook on how to behave in a moral way, it says a bit of cheating's all right, it's not the end of the world, kind of thing. So you can't really trust other people because they're completely separate individuals with their own stuff going on in their head, their own moral code. So the secret to being able to feel safe in the world is to trust yourself. Trusting yourself is the only person you need to trust. You need to promise yourself that if you get into a difficult situation, like for instance, I promised myself that if I get into some sort of relationship and I start getting these little ticks in the back of my head, like, oh, this is beginning to feel abusive and stuff, that I won't say, oh, Beth, you're just always thinking negative thoughts, blah, blah, blah. I'll listen to myself, and I trust myself to get out of that situation, right? And when you trust yourself to take good action in your own best interests, to forgive yourself for any mistakes that you make, and to love yourself, then you don't actually need to depend on other human beings doing exactly what you want in order to feel safe and happy in the world.
See, that's all too well, but the trouble is, some people they're so fixated with a certain person, say, and they go through like abuse or go through anything just to be with that partner, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And why would you trust yourself when you hate yourself? People in, abusive relationships, essentially at some level, this is certainly the case for me, believe that that's the kind of treatment that we deserve, because we don't love ourselves, because we think we're worthless, right? So how on earth can you trust somebody, yourself, that you don't even like and that you think is worthless? So yeah, it's
Mm.
absolutely very difficult to do, and it's a long process to start to build a relationship with yourself. But the way
Mm.
to start doing it is, if you absolutely don't like yourself, one of the things I did is I thought of the most inspirational English teacher that I had in secondary school. I was really good at English, and I was always looking for kind of mother figures because my own mother wasn't, particularly great. And she just always somehow seemed to put a positive spin on things. She would openly encourage me. She would give me praise and all that. And so what I would do is, when I heard my own voice saying something really nasty to myself, because of course that voice can happen 24/7 and it can say whatever it likes because no one else can hear it, and it can haunt your dreams. And, it's like a form of torture, isn't it, really? I just started out by going, well, what would Mrs. Harrison say? What would she say to me? You know, and I'd think about what she'd say and I'd practice saying that to myself instead. And that just began to shift that toxic voice a little bit to the side. And there was another voice that I knew I could believe in and trust. I couldn't believe in and trust myself yet, but I could believe in and trust Mrs. Harrison because I knew she cared about me. I knew she had my back. I knew she saw my worth. And so she gradually became my voice. And that's how I moved on from it. And I think we've all got someone like that in our lives. Is there anyone you could think of, Steve, who you sort of...
Well, I've got a few. I've got a few.
Great, that's great. And
I've got
obviously
a few, but I don't.
hard for you,
I don't. To be honest, I don't love myself.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest with you. I do not. I do not love myself. I think I hate myself, then like myself. But that, I'm only kind of like speaking honestly to you because that's the way I try to be lately. But I don't go around kind of like saying that I like myself because people want to hear it. I just, at the end of the day, I just think to myself that in life we make our own mistakes, and the trouble is we've got to kind of like get out of it. I say to other people when I'm doing the podcast, I said, the trouble is to move on, you've got to start forgiving yourself. But the trouble is, I think sometimes I need to hear my own words, and then help other people. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But I don't
Absolutely.
love.
Yeah,
I don't.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate your honesty. And your honesty is so incredibly helpful to anyone struggling with this. It's okay to say there's bits about yourself that you don't like, bits that you hate, because even being honest about that is in a way a positive thing, right? Because there are lots of us who are so locked in denial that we're not even willing to look and see that there's a problem that could at some point be solved, be
Yeah.
helped. So
I had a
even...
phone call. I had a
Mhm.
sorry,
Go on.
sorry. How rude I am.
Okay.
I had a phone call when I came off speaking to Susan just now. I had a phone call, and it was from somebody that I thought I fed up with her. It's like I was trying to self sabotage it, where I was trying to think, oh well, I don't need you, in my life and all that. And she's been helping me out with with the project I'm doing.
Yeah.
And she said, no, I haven't give up on you and nothing like that. It's in your mind, you're thinking that no one likes you or wants you to succeed, but it's totally wrong, Stephen. You got these thoughts. And I said, well, I'm sorry. And she said, what we do tomorrow, we'll meet up for a coffee. And I said, yeah, okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go along and apologize, really apologize to her because I think my attitude sometimes and everybody's attitude that listening, sometimes we do put ourselves down quite a lot,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. So well done you. That's amazing that you've done that because if somebody that cool is into you, then at some point you're going to have to accept that you can't be the person that you hate if other people on the outside like you. And it is a process. And it's interesting what you said about or what your friend said about thoughts in your head. Marissa Peer, who is repeatedly voted Britain's favorite therapist, she says your whole reality is the pictures you make in your head and the words that you say to yourself. That is your reality. you know
Yeah,
and it's starting to change that. That's why I'm suggesting, think of a kind voice that there's been in your life. If you don't think your own voice can be kind, think of someone else, or someone off the telly. Is there a character that you like, or that you think is fantastic, that you'd like to model yourself on, or whatever? It can be anybody, but a voice that's going to be encouraging and trustworthy and positive. And so that's the words you say to yourself. And on the other side is the pictures that you make in your head. Is we self-sabotage by so say you're, going back to your scenario about that you're going on a date and it's all going to be crap or whatever. As you're probably thinking pictures like you stood at the bar and the person hasn't turned up or whatever, right? And your brain, as you probably know, visualization is a technique that's used by athletes, very, very current at the moment with the Olympics and top CEOs and things. It's an incredibly powerful thing because the brain works in pictures, and it's a bit like a computer, the garbage in, garbage out. It needs instructions. It needs a picture of what it is you want to achieve, right? And it will do its best to make that. So if you've got a negative picture stuck in your head and you're feeling some negative feelings about it and you're saying some negative things, then essentially that's likely to happen. That's what your brain thinks you want to bring into reality, right? It's nothing about the universe or anything else. This is just pure neuroscience, okay? Your brain's like a dog wanting instructions, okay? So another way, as well as finding a kind voice, is to start visualizing how you would like things to go. So if you are, like for me, I'm still emotionally eating, I'm just, that's just happening during COVID, okay? But I visualize not beating myself up, and I visualize myself eating celery and hummus and all that. And do you know what? Interestingly, certainly with diet and things, they ran experiments in, I think it was Boston, Massachusetts. They ran a long-term experiment, and people who visualized about eating celery or whatever, right, even though they kept eating cookies, lost more weight than people who were eating cookies and not visualizing about eating slimming food. How weird is that? But this is
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
works. So the power of thought. So think about the pictures you're making in your head and the words you're saying to yourself. And those are the two most powerful ways to stop the self-sabotage.
Brilliant. Beth, thank you so much. That was really good. That was really interesting.
Pleasure as always.
And what's Mark saying? That's fine.
Yes, positive Mark. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes he does take some finding. And yeah, sometimes we just have to embrace the suck on a particular day and go, this isn't the day where we're able to coach ourselves through and be all happy and positive. But tomorrow's another day. Maybe I'll find positive Mark then. I find exactly the same with positive Beth.
Yep. You'll be all right later because I'll wind him up later.
Good. I'm going to try and catch him if I can. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to marry him off at the moment.
You what? Sorry.
I'm trying to marry him off at the moment. Get him married off.
I think he's got a rather lovely girlfriend, I think he'll find.
Yeah, I know, but he needs to get married to her.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay, yes. And you're trying to do the same with Guy, aren't you? He's here at the moment looking after me because of my poor old back. I'm too dosed up to, I can't drive anywhere or, operate machinery and stuff. So I'm very lucky that he's come all the way from Oxford to Manchester to look after me for the week.
Oh, that's nice.
I know, he's lovely. Righty ho.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. All right, I'll see you next week then, yeah?
Yeah, okay then. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, bye bye.